morning, our community spotlight is Open Arms Dance Project presented by Megan Brandel. And I'm going to give you Megan's quick little bio here. Megan's a pretty wonderful person, so it's a little lengthy. So Megan earned her Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in modern dance choreography and performance from the University of Colorado and Boulder in 2005. She's also trained extensively in integrated dance, yoga instruction, and studied elementary and special education. To enrich her teaching of all ages and abilities of dancers, Megan has trained in brain-compatible dance education with Anne Green Gilbert in 2012, integrated dance with Jurg Cook 2013, Dance for Parkinson's Disease Program 2014, the Axis Dance Company Integrated Dance Summer Intensive in 2016, and adaptive dance teacher training in Sun Valley, led by the Boston Ballet in 2019, and the SITI and Boise trainings in 22 through 24, Incline Technique, Alexander Technique, Viewpoints, Suzuki, and Creative Aging Foundations for the Lifetime Arts in 2025. As a dance educator teaching in schools and community centers, Megan is strongly committed to teaching populations not typically involved in dance and helping them move in ways that are joyful, empowering, collaborative, and community building. In 2008, funded by a grant from the Boise City Department of Arts and History, she founded Open Arms Dance Project, which is an expression of all she believes in as a person and artist. Everyone deserves to create, connect with others, and be seen. Most recently, Megan was the recipient of the 2022 Governor's Award in the Arts for Accessibility in the Arts. She was also awarded an Alexa Rose Foundation grant supporting her year-long course of study with Jacobs Pillow Curriculum in Motion Institute and was an artist in the residence at Sorrell's Place in 2020. Open Arms Dance Project was featured in the 2021 Boise Mayor's Appreciation for Arts, History and Culture and was an LED Artist Haven resident in 2022. Megan and Open Arms Dance Project dancers have created a multitude of impactful choreography and films together. Megan, please present your program. We're excited to have you this morning.
Thank you so much, Karen. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you all for having me. Open Arms Dance Project is an intergenerational and inclusive dance company. Our dancers are as young as 7, and currently our oldest dancer is 82, although there's no upper age limit. Our dancers have disabilities and some of them do not, and these are both seen and unseen disabilities. Next slide. And these first few slides go kind of quick. Our mission is creating greater joy and compassion with dance that opens hearts, minds, and arms. And our vision is empowering a diversity of people to share their unique creative expression through equitable, collaborative dance making that has the ability to transform communities. So the way we do this, and you can, is through performance, number one, and you can see a lot of pictures here and hopefully get a sense for the diversity of our group through these pictures. We did a live monarch butterfly piece last year, which is why I'm wearing these earrings, but we have it filmed in the Boise foothills and it's going to be shown at our final performance this year. It's going to be marvelous, so you should come. Next slide. So our projects and programs, we do about 6 uplifting, joyful, and mostly free performances per season. We only charge for 1 performance, and that's our big final performance at the end of the season, which I'll talk a little more about. And then we have 2 dance and human rights outreach programs, and keep in mind we're intergenerational. So Upstanders with Open Arms is focused on 2nd graders, and it's a 9-week in-school residency that really teaches kids anti-bullying, how to be an upstander. And then Spiraling Upwards is for all ages, anybody above 2nd grade. And basically that same content is like how to treat each other with kindness, how to interrupt bullying at any age, and we do that all through dance. So it's a pretty joyful, it's a serious topic, but a joyful delivery way to look at it. And then we have some pop-up community classes for birth through no upper age limit. And our next one is on April 19th, and that one's just for parents and toddlers about to age 7. And then we do public speaking and trainings, and that's what I'm going to do for you today. So next slide. I'm going to talk about 5 tips for interacting respectfully with older adults and those with disabilities. And these are just from my lived experience doing this work with Open Arms Dance Project for 17 years. It was a labor of love, and I didn't really pay myself for many of those years, but now we are a nonprofit and we have been such since 2020. So this is just stuff I've learned. And my dad also had Lou Gehrig's disease towards the end of his life. And so he did have a disability. And so number 1 is look people in the eyes. Kneel down if they're in a wheelchair. And that seems pretty simple, but wow, it's powerful to really see somebody. Next slide. Number 2 is to talk to people with disabilities and older adults directly, not just to the person who is with them. So we have this value that helps us carry out our mission, and it's to dismantle hierarchy. And often there's a hierarchy, and if you see somebody with a disability and somebody without a disability, you defer to the person without a disability and talk to them and ask, oh yeah, what do they want to eat? What to, ask them all the pertinent questions. But I really encourage you to talk directly to the person with the disability. And there might be wait time to let them get an answer out. But yeah, next slide. Really important. Number 3 tip is ask before helping someone with a disability or an older adult. And so independence and maintaining that independence and dignity is so important for anybody. And so rather than just rushing up to grab somebody's wheelchair and push them around or help them, and of course that comes from a very generous, helpful part of all of us, ask them first. Just say, do you need any help getting to the door or getting through this door? Let them answer and then proceed from there. We have a dancer with cerebral palsy. She uses a cane, and we've danced with fabric over our heads and all sorts of stuff. And this fabric pulled her over a time or two. She'd fall. And our natural inclination is to rush and start yanking on her arms and pulling her up and forcing her back up to standing. And that actually can hurt her more, dislocate her shoulder, or just it's best to say, ooh, are you okay? Do you need any help? And she usually says, nope, I got it. And it takes her a while to get back up. But that is definitely the safest way for her to get back up. Next slide. This one is so important to me. Number 4 is use a respectful, age-appropriate tone of voice. Avoid using a tone of voice you would while talking to a child or baby when you're actually talking to a teen or an adult. And this is part of something called assumed competency. There's a lot to look at if you search that term, but it's basically just approaching anybody and assuming that they are going to understand you and talking to them at the age they are and in a respectful way. Often when people need help with feeding or bathrooming for any reason due to natural aging or disability, we start talking to them as in like a tone of voice we would use with a baby or a child. And this happened to my dad, and I knew, like he was this amazing person who was charismatic and talked to people and had tons of friends, and just because his disease was going to take away his independence and his ability to do all that for himself was no reason to start talking to him as if he were a baby. So that one's important to me. Next slide. This is the final tip. Give choice and voice whenever possible. So again, in those instances when somebody is really needing support through eating and bathrooming, try to find those times, those little ways to give them choice. So would you like to look out the window or watch the cat sleep while you eat, rather than just parking maybe their wheelchair in front of the TV and just, assuming, yep, that's where they want to be. So if you can give them choice in what they're doing and where what their life experience is, that's really powerful. What music do you want to listen to while I'm helping you with bathrooming? So we do this in open arms through our creative process in really beautiful ways. I give assignments to dancers and say, okay, so I want you to create a golden spiral based on Fibonacci numbers. This is what our choreography is based on this year. But how are you going to do that with your individual body? And how can we do that as a group? How can we do it in these small groups? And then they're the ones who figure it out. And so everybody, I offer them lots of opportunities to be empowered and to share their creative voice. Next slide. So another thing that can be really hard is just what language do we use when talking about or to people with disabilities. So I thought that would be good to talk about a little bit. Always avoid derogatory terms, even when using them in a self-deprecating way. So in the 80s and 90s, we would often say, oh, I'm such a spaz, or I'm such a R word, and don't do that anymore. Like that was what we did then, not appropriate anymore. And then I like to avoid also using language that softens or tiptoes around disability, such as differently abled, special needs, or uniquely abled. I like to look directly and speak directly about disability and people with disabilities. Next slide. But of course, follow the lead of the disabled person or their family if they're under 18 years old, and use the same language they use. So if they use special needs, use that language. Otherwise, if you don't have a lead to follow, you can choose between people first and disability first language. Next slide. So people first versus disability first. People first puts the person's name before the disability, and so it's a little bit hard to explain. So if I say my dad had a disability, that's people first language, versus I had a disabled dad, that's disability first. And I'll talk a little more about that. People first language can get kind of wordy, because when I say this description of my dance company, we are a dance company with and without people with disabilities. So there gets to be tons of withs in there. And then disability first language is just something that more recently, like maybe in the last 10 or 15 years in my awareness, people with disabilities have kind of taken up, like reclaimed the word disabilities, and there's nothing wrong with this word, and it's the best way to describe my experience. So we collaborated with a disabled artist, Molly Joyce, and she explained to me, like, she had gotten in a car accident when she was young, and she had limited use of one arm, but went to Juilliard and is an amazing composer and musician. And she said disability is just like it impacts every aspect of my life. And so she calls herself a disabled artist. And so my description, when we collaborated, used both people first and disability first language. And it said, Open Arms Dance Project is a dance company with and without dancers with disabilities, collaborating with disabled artist Molly Joyce. And so it's a little bit complicated, but basically just you can use the word disability, and you can use it in lots of different ways. And then do use these terms. You can talk about physical disabilities or intellectual disabilities, and that is the preferred term rather than cognitive impairment or mentally disabled. Yeah, next slide. So with all that said, the best way to experience what we do and all of those values and missions and visions and all those things I just talked about is to see us perform, because that is, it's amazing what we can communicate without words. So our next performance is on May 9th is the community performance, but we have a couple performances that are field trips. So if you know any educators or if you have any senior groups that what would like to come during the day for reduced price, it's only $3 a ticket for those field trips. We have two of those, and you can go to our website and access all of those because the QR codes are a little bit small on this here, but it's an incredibly uplifting performance, eye-opening, gets you thinking about different things and hopefully feeling inspired and, like I said, really uplifted. And so let me see. I don't know, Dara, I don't want to put you all behind. This video that I have to show is about 5 minutes, and
So what
so
I
it's
thought
your
I would
choice.
do is I will send out the link in the
Cool.
materials and just take you. Let's see if I can get this to work again. I'll take you to your thank you slide and the other information, and I'll send out the link so everybody can watch it.
Cool.
I
Yeah,
can
so
get on
during
this.
2020, we created a couple films. Dancers choreographed their own movement that you'll see on this film, and I hope you watch that and just enjoy it as a glimpse into what we do, both filmed and live performances. And then in closing, I just want to thank you all for listening. Our website is openarmsdance.org without the project. And then you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Open Arms Dance Project. Thank you so much, and say hi if you come to our performance. I was going to lead you through the brain dance if we had enough time, but we'll just close there. Thank you.